All right, we're going to talk about 3 forms to graph quadratics. They're all going to be the same thing. First of all, tell me what you know when you graph a quadratic equation. What kind of graph do you get? It starts with a P. A parabola. It can look like that. Or, what, parabola? Let me write it over here for you then. Okay? Tell me some things you know about a parabola. Looks like a U. It could cross both axes. Okay, what else do you know? That is a good point because we're going to talk about what makes it point either way. So that's okay. All right, keep going. What else? That's what makes it up or down. What else? Tell me an important point on a parabola. The middle, what's it called? Somebody said it. The vertex. Why is the vertex so important? Couple reasons it's so important. Tell me what they are. What happens at the vertex? Come on. It what? Okay. Look at the parabola itself.
The lines meet. Something like that.
It's in the middle. It's directly in the middle. And it's the lowest or highest point.
Oh, so you did have that story back there. Yeah.
Here is the highest. We call it a maximum. Here it's the lowest, so we probably call that a minimum. Now, I drew this funny little dotted line through that vertex up and down. What's that tell me about the parabola? See, what's that? Give me another word. A geometry word.
Man, I don't know.
Starts with an S. It's symmetrical. It's symmetric through the vertex. We call this the axis. Yes, somebody said it. Somebody whispered it. The axis of symmetry. Okay, because it cuts that parabola in half, and it's exactly the same on the left and the right. Y'all okay on that so far? All right, so we are going to talk about graphing these parabolas in 3 different forms. I'm going to start with the hardest, and then I'll move to the easier of the 3. The first form we're going to graph in is what we call standard form. Now remember, quadratic means it's got an x squared term, right? Right. So, y equals. We've done a lot with this. We have solved, we've used the quadratic formula, we have factored and solved, we have found zeros, we have completed the square. So what we do here in standard form, we have to find our A, our B, and our C, which you already did whenever you did your, do y'all remember doing this? Graphing in this form? Okay. Let me just run through then quickly what we do. We first find the vertex. Does anybody remember how you find the vertex? The little formula? Anybody? Everybody's like, no. All right, so for the vertex, we do opposite B over 2A. Okay? That gives us our axis of symmetry, which is also the x part of our vertex. And then we plug in to find y. Once we have the vertex, and you have to have the vertex, anytime you graph a parabola, you have to have the vertex. That is probably the most important point on that parabola. And then what we'll do after that is we'll find an easy point. Easy point. close to the vertex. Y'all remember doing that? And then finally, we'll take that easy point that we find and we'll reflect it over that axis of symmetry to connect it. So we'll do an example together. All right, so let's go through an example. Let's say y equals 5x squared minus 5x plus 7. Now, Miranda was talking about up or down and positive or negative, and she was absolutely right. When you look at this a in front, if it's positive, it opens up. If it's negative, it opens down. So which way do you think this one's going to open? Up. All right. All right, here's where we start getting a little sticky is when we start finding some of these points because this one's not going to be nice and even. But that's okay. All right, step 1. Find the vertex. So we're going to find x first. Well, looking at your equation that we started with, tell me what is A? What is B? And what is C? So what is opposite B? 5 over 2 times, what is A? 5. So 5 over 10 is the same thing as 1/2, right? Now here's what you have to understand that this means. This means I'm on my graph. At the point 1/2 right here is where my axis of symmetry happens, which means somewhere on that dotted line, I'm essentially finding that dotted line first. Then I'll go and find where on that dotted line the vertex lies. So once you have x, you want to plug it in to find y. What am I plugging it into? What does y equal? Yeah, your first equation. This is where I would definitely use my calculator. We've been doing a lot of plug-in type stuff like this, so it should be easy peasy for you. 1/2 squared minus 5 times 1/2 plus 7. We talked about this, didn't we? Did we talk about why that's there?
No, we didn't.
Thank you for that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug 1/2 in for every x there, and I'm just going to do it all at one time on my calculator here. 5 times 1 over 2, that's squared, minus 5 times 1/2. Remember, fractions need to be in parentheses, and because I'm multiplying here, and then subtracting, I need to put that 5x in parentheses also. Plus 7. 5.75. You can leave it as 5.75. You can put it as a fraction if you want. 5. But all that's doing is it's telling me how high up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How high up on my dotted line to go. So tell me, what are the coordinates of the vertex? Somebody, anybody? Somebody. 1/2, 5.75. So if I asked you what's the vertex, you would say 1/2, 5.75. Is anybody confused? All right, I need an easy point. I say easy point, I need it to be beside the vertex, okay? And the only reason I do that is because if you think about the way a parabola does, it goes up really fast. The further away you get from the vertex, the bigger your number's going to be. It's going to be hard to work with. So pick something close. What's close to 1/2? 1. I would say the same thing. Plug it in. This is my easy point. And I'm not teaching this quite in the depth that I would if it was the first time you'd heard it. So if you're not understanding or I need to slow down, let me know. 1's an easy one to plug in. 1 squared is 1. I got 5 minus 5 plus 7, which is what? 7. So what are the coordinates of this easy point? 1, 7. So 1, and then up to 5, 6, 7. The last step is the funnest step. Did you say wait? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you said wait. Yeah, you flip it. Because that line, that dashed line, is like a mirror sitting there. Where would the point be on the other side of the mirror? So if you go over a half and a half, you're really just reflecting that line. And my graph is totally not accurate, but... And so I call that step reflect and connect. Do not make this a point. It's not a V. It curves in as it comes down to that vertex. Easy? Good. 2 more forms. If you can do standard form, you can do any form. The next form is Vertex Form. All of these forms have the same A that sits in front, and it still does the same thing. It tells you if it's up or down. It also tells you if it's skinny or wide. But this is called Vertex Form because it literally gives you the vertex in the formula. What do you think the vertex is? What variables do you see in there that aren't usually in there? H and K. That's your vertex. So all that work we did to find the vertex in standard form, you can skip all that and just take the vertex out here in vertex form. Be very careful though, because H is opposite sign and K is the same sign. And then our steps are going to follow the same way they did before. We're going to find our easy point, we're going to reflect, and then connect. Okay, let me show you an example. What's the vertex? Good job. -2, -3. All that work we did in that other form, this eliminates that. We're going to work with a lot of graphs in here, so this is a good thing to spend some time here. Not only is this my vertex, it's also my axis of symmetry. I need an easy point. What should I use? What should I use? I might use -1 instead of 1, since -2. Because 1's going to be way over here. And -1's real close. Plug it in. Y equals -1 plus 2 squared minus 3. Remember your order of operations said -1 plus 2 is 1. And 1 minus 3 is, y'all can do this one, -2. So I got -1, -2. Reflect and connect. Over 1, so over 1. Nice, pretty parabola. Y'all good? Y'all always say yeah. Y'all sure? We fitting to see on this test, ain't it? Y'all always like, we good, we good, we good. I'll teach y'all a little more in depth when we get out of chapter P, since that'll be new stuff. All right, one more. Do y'all remember doing this in Algebra 2? No? A little bit, some of us some. Yeah. This was in the old books. This was like 1-1 and 1-2. Chapter 1. Lesson 1 and lesson 2. Very beginning. All right, intercept form. If vertex form gives us the vertex, what do you think intercept form gives us? Y'all are so smart. The A is still there. Remember, what does intercept mean? Where it crosses an axis. Yeah, that's a P and a Q. So this one tells me where it crosses the x-axis this time. Okay, so this one's telling me that it crosses the x-axis at P and at Q. These are both opposite signs every time. Well, so if I have two, think about this on a graph. If I have two places where it's crossing the x-axis, what am I missing to make a parabola? The vertex. The axis of symmetry and the vertex. You're absolutely right. So if you've got these 2 points, you know that the axis of symmetry is going to be in the middle, right? So that's going to be what I have to do. I have to find the middle of the 2 points, and then I'll have to plug that in to find where on that axis. So this one's a little bit backwards from the other form that we have done. The other forms. All right, so let me show you an example. Let's do... And let's do negative in front. We had no one that goes down. If A is not there on these, it's 1. Okay, so in this case, it's -1 because of the negative in front. Tell me, where does this parabola cross the x-axis? And -3. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We said we need to find the vertex, and that's absolutely right. So to find the vertex, I need to find in the middle. How do you find in the middle of 2 values? By 2. That's exactly right. We're going to average them together. We're going to add them together. We do P plus Q, and we're going to divide by 2. Okay? This is after you've changed the signs. It's the same thing that you graphed. So here I have -7 plus -3 over 2. What's -7 and -3? Divided by 2. That's right. So here is my axis of symmetry. How do I find where? Come on, we're almost done. Y'all can do it. How do I find where on the axis? What do I do? Plug it back in. Plug -5 in for your x's. Watch all these signs. This negative is going to stay outside. I'm going to take care of that the very last step. Negative 5 and 7 is 2. And negative 5 and 3 is negative 2. So now what is the negative of 2 times negative 2? What do you get? Positive 4. I have